Good afternoon, and thank you for joining TAAT Global Alternatives, Inc. for a presentation regarding their first half 2022 financial update. Today, the company will also take the opportunity to introduce their new CEO. As a reminder, all participants are in listen-only mode, and the conference is being recorded. Anyone on the conference call requiring assistance may signal an operator by pressing star, then 0. After the presentation, management will respond to questions. Please note that today's remarks may include forward-looking statements that are subject to important risks and uncertainties. Forward-looking statements may include, but are not necessarily limited to, financial projections or other statements of the company's plans, objectives, expectations, or intentions. These matters involve certain risks and uncertainties. The company's actual performance and results may differ significantly from those projected or suggested due to a variety of factors which are discussed in detail in the company's public filings. For more information on these risks and uncertainties, please see the related statements at the bottom of TAAT Global Alternatives news release dated July 1st, 2022, which is available on their website at www.taatglobal.com and on SEDAR at www.sedar.com. It is now my pleasure to turn the conference over to TAAT's Chief Financial Officer, Joel Demarisk. Please proceed.
Thanks very much, Charisse, and good afternoon. On behalf of the entire team at TAAT Global Alternatives, I'd like to welcome you all to this call today. Also, really pleased to welcome our newly appointed CEO, Michael Saxon, to the call. Michael, you're here with us? Oh, I guess you're muted.
Good afternoon, everyone.
There we go. Michael just returned from Las Vegas and is presently down at the ADCO headquarters in Canton, Ohio. Michael will shortly be sharing some additional detail on his background as well as some of his views on the opportunity that TAAT offers. So it's I think, fair to say, a good day to do the presentation. I'm not sure whether it's just a coincidence or whether it's an anticipation of the presentation, but I see our stock is up strongly in the marketplace today, so that's certainly encouraging. So let me begin by saying that at TAAT we put a tremendous effort into communicating with the investment audience, and this call is part of our ongoing commitment to providing our existing shareholder base with insight into our progress as well as to building upon that audience. We spent a lot of time thinking about that and focusing upon our investing audience. What drove our desire to conduct the call this morning was the significant transformation of our company, which recently took place with the acquisition of ADCO in Central Ohio. Now, many of you are aware that the state of Ohio was our launch market just over a year ago, and that ADCO was one of the first distributors to identify the opportunity presented by TAAT's unique and non-traditional smokable products. I have to give the folks over at ADCO credit because version 1 of our product, although revolutionary and unique, was not really the product that we now have on the market with version 3. It really took some trust at that time and some imagination to appreciate how disruptive this product could eventually become. To that point, when we initiated our conversation with the owners of ADCO on being acquired and joining our team at TAAT, over dinner, Joe Deegan, our founder, offered the largest shareholder of ADCO one of our version 3s. And I think that's probably what cemented the deal. Eric lit it up and tried it, and over and over and over again kept repeating, "This is 1,000 times better. This is 1,000 times better." Really couldn't believe the iterative progress, the improvement in product from version 1 through to version 3. And it truly is 1,000 times better. So what I'm going to talk about today is why do the ADCO deal in the first place? Beyond the fact that it's obviously accretive to TAAT and also drives us to almost $100 million Canadian in sales this year, we did it because after a year of working with arm's length distributors, we began to realize just how little we knew about how to introduce a novel and effectively non-traditional product into the marketplace. We hadn't done this before. In fact, nobody really has. we gradually began to appreciate that we needed to trial run things like our packaging, our product placement, our marketing materials, and of course, even our advertising. With ATCO's network of hundreds of retail customers, and of course, its handful of company-owned stores, TAAT now has that trial market. In addition, many of you have seen that our branded product, and we're really excited and proud of this, is now offered in several 7-Eleven locations in the U.S. Well, what we're interested in is the entire 7-Eleven network, literally thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of convenience stores. Or to get this over the finish line with the likes of Circle K or Walmart or Costco. What we require to do that is data. Data on store sale rates, data on reorder rates, data on a whole host of other things that large-scale distributors are looking for in order to have the confidence to introduce a new product like ours. What we found was that arm's-length distributors just don't hand that data to you. They keep it to themselves. But when you own your own data, when you own your own distribution, you get the data. And that data for a company like TAAT is like gold. So now that we have ATCO, we're focused upon buying more distribution in that Ohio corridor. We don't want to be specifically a distribution company. That's not our goal. But we are actively searching for some greater scale and economies, particularly with distributors that are moving non-traditional products. So I'd say stay tuned over the next number of months. I think you'll see further developments and further focus on distribution. Not only does this accelerate our sales, both here in the U.S. and abroad, but what's really exciting is that it transforms TAAT from what presently is a 3-SKU company to a brand company, whereby we launch under the TAAT brand other non-traditional products, test run and perfect the marketing through our company-owned distribution network, and then drive them out nationally and globally. So how did Coca-Cola get its start? Well, Coke got its start with one product, Coke. Then came Diet Coke, then Gatorade, then water. Now Coca-Cola is hundreds or even thousands of traditional products, all being test run through Coke's own internal distribution network. That's what we see for TAAT, focusing exclusively on the non-traditional space, not the traditional space like a Coca-Cola. We're not interested in competing with Coca-Cola, don't get me wrong. But there is a massive opening in this non-traditional space. And you've seen, some of this progress already in the announcements that we've made concerning the development of our, for example, heat not burn product, or the announcement concerning the non-tobacco, non-hemp product that we are on the cusp of launching. We're also looking at opportunities to launch other non-traditional products outside the smokable space. For instance, one example is Kratom. That's a product that we're presently very intrigued by. If you can think of it, think TAAT Kratom. So branded as TAAT, but selling a product like Kratom, which is flying off shelves right now, and which we believe we're really well suited and ideally positioned to launch. So before I wrap up this and turn it over to Michael, let me touch specifically upon the TAAT branded products. I know many of our investors have questions about that. What I want investors to appreciate is that our branded product has really only been on the market for about 6 months. Yes, I appreciate that versions 1 and version 2 were out there before that, but those products admittedly were not ready to compete with tobacco. They competed very effectively with hemp-based products, but they weren't quite ready to compete with tobacco. And that's why we spent the end of the last fiscal year and part of Q1 of this year pulling version 1 and version 2 off the market. And believe me, as the CFO, I can tell you that was both painful and expensive, yet it was necessary because this version 3 product is so much superior. But let me assure you, version 3 can and is competing very, very, very effectively with tobacco now. It took some time, but Joe and Dr. Orser in our product development department and our entire team at TAAT finally really nailed it with a reconstituted version 3 of the product. It's amazing. And don't just take my word for it. I'm not a smoker, so look at some of the testimonials online. I think that'll make up really strong cases to just how strong and how good and how effective this product is, and how this product is primed to compete in the $1 trillion global cigarette space. Often see notes from investors, concerned about store counts. To me, at this stage of our development, I won't say that store count is irrelevant, but I would say that it's secondary. Secondary to what really is important. What's really important is the resale rate. If consumers buy the product for the first time and then never buy again, our product isn't going to have legs. It's not going anywhere. But with version 3, we've seen a dramatic uptick in reorders. In fact, in the last quarter, more than 50% of our sales were indeed reorders. That's an astonishing statistic for a new product. And that's what I, as the CFO, get really, really jazzed about. Let me say one more thing with respect to what our strategy is and what we're thinking in terms of and the type of information that we are already getting out of our relationship with ADCO that's allowing us to improve and perfect how we market and sell our product. So 6 months ago, we were really focusing the product and the product sales on, what does the product do for you? Well, it's got no nicotine. It smokes well. It's comparable to a cigarette, and so on. And while effective, what we've learned from our discussions, extensive discussions, and I mentioned that Michael's down there talking to ADCO right now, what we learned by sitting down and talking to the individual reps at ADCO was that really the key thing and the key differentiator and the key advantage we have isn't the difference between our product and a cigarette. It's the cost advantage that we have. The fact that if you look at the cigarette market, you've got Tier 1 cigarettes, Tier 2 cigarettes, Tier 3 cigarettes, and at the bottom end, Tier 4 cigarettes. And what we found is that we needed to get more aggressive in our pricing and make sure that the disparity between a Tier 4 cigarette and our product, which is priced well below a Tier 4 cigarette, is compelling enough for a consumer that when they walk into a store, it's a no-brainer picking the TAAT product versus the product that they're accustomed to buying, just because it's so astonishingly cheap for them to purchase. And that's the big advantage we have. And the other advantage we have is that with the individual stores, and again, this is the information we were getting back from ADCO, when they go in and they talk to a store manager, they talk to somebody at the front desk of the store, they're not particularly interested in the product. What they're interested in is their margins. And our product gives a retailer 3 times the margin that they're receiving off a Tier 4 cigarette. So it's a natural progression for them to make a move and to recommend our product when somebody comes in and says, what do you recommend? Or if somebody comes in and says, give me the cheapest cigarette in the store, naturally, not only is it priced better than a Tier 4 cigarette, but of course, the retailer is making much more margin on it, so they're naturally disposed towards recommending it. So that's the type, just to give you a little bit of an idea as to the type of information that we are already collecting and starting to employ into how we're marketing the product. That's why this ADCO arrangement was so revolutionary for us. So let me summarize by saying that we're still very much in the first inning here. This is early stage for us. Just as Coca-Cola was not built in a day, nor will TAAT be. We need to continue to invest in our product and our technology, which we're doing. We need to continue to invest in our personnel. Michael's an excellent example of that, and I'll let him read his extraordinarily impressive resume to you, and you'll get a sense of just how well prepared and positioned he is to take us to that next level. But we've also got to continue to invest in new markets, which we're doing. And most importantly, we need to invest in brand awareness. That's the most important thing, that we build upon this TAAT brand so that we're positioned to go out and launch other products and dramatically accelerate the growth of the company. So we believe that we are very much on the right track. And without further ado, I'll turn the mic over to you, Michael, for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joel, and good day, everyone. I'd like to first start off by sharing a little bit about my background, why I'm so excited to be here as part of the TAAT team, and some early thoughts on my philosophy on growing the business. After working my way through college at the University of Georgia, I started my career at Philip Morris in sales. After several promotions, including leading the Walmart account team and the New York market, I was then reassigned to Philip Morris International, or PMI. My early work at PMI was helping modernize commercial operations across Central Europe, in countries like Poland, Hungary, and Turkey, among others. I then moved to Asia, where I led commercial operations in Taiwan and later Malaysia. In 2008, when Altria and PMI separated into two different companies, I chose to stay with PMI. A year later, I returned to Europe to run Norway and Denmark, where we more than doubled the business in less than 3 years. I was lured back to the U.S. in 2012 when I rejoined Altria to build its corporate venture unit and later lead one of its larger businesses with a $3.5 billion P&L. Since leaving Altria in 2016, I've been mainly focused on more entrepreneurial work in both the venture capital and private equity worlds, along with my philanthropic passion to help individuals with disabilities as Vice Chairman for Special Olympics Virginia. Let's turn to TAAT. For just over a decade now, the tobacco space has experienced more innovation than it has throughout its entire history. I believe TAAT can be part of that disruption. Most adult smokers want to quit or to switch to less harmful products, and I believe that TAAT can be part of that conversation. With the Biden administration's recent announcement on regulating nicotine levels in tobacco products, and the FDA's decision to give authorization for a lower nicotine cigarette, it's clear to me and others that products like TAAT can be part of the solution. I stayed in the tobacco space longer than I might have thought when I joined back in 1995. It was my exposure to the investments being made in harm reduction in 1998 as part of the test launch for a product called Accord, an early predecessor to PMI's current IQOS product, on why I stayed as long as I did. And it's that same inspiration today that brought me to join the TAAT team. Let's shift to where TAAT is headed, and specifically, first, the U.S. market. As Joel mentioned, over the last 2 years, our R&D teams have made tremendous improvements in our core product offering, and based on early adult smoker testimonials and a small sample from leading chains in the geographies where we have distribution, we now believe we have a product that adult smokers can more easily migrate and adopt permanently. While I know some on the call may be frustrated by our growth, thinking it's slower than it should have been, as an industry expert, I suggest this is a good thing where we sit today, even if it was unintended. Products are just like people, and making a great first impression is the same. With the limited footprint we had with version 1 and 2, we have less people to reintroduce the new TAAT. With version 3, we now have the confidence to further invest to scale TAAT. Since arriving just a few weeks ago, I've refocused our team to build comprehensive plans to more deeply penetrate 2 markets here in the U.S. Those plans will be finalized in the coming days, and deployment of those plans start next week. The bulk of the company's resources are reallocated to those 2 markets, and I'll be focused on, with a small team, on building out our expansion plans. To give you a little hint of what our expansion plans will involve, I subscribe to the fish where the fish are theory. So our plans will be based on a few strategic pillars. 1, what geographies do we think we can have the highest chance of success at switching adult smokers? 2, what geographies can we penetrate the easiest through our established network of relationships? And 3, what geographies can help us expand to other adjacent geographies more easily? I hope this gives you a sense of our approach and the focus our expansion plans will have. I look forward to providing more detail in the coming quarters and, more importantly, our achievements. Let me now give you a little color on our international, R&D, and scientific priorities. For international, we now have received multiple orders from our UK distribution partner. This shows me early signs that the UK market can be a strategic home base for us in Europe. The UK market has long been a leader in the harm reduction conversation and why it can be so valuable in TAAT's future. We will be evaluating what plans and resources are needed to build on this initial success in the UK. Similar to the US, I believe it's important to first establish a foothold in a few countries in a particular region that can then be leveraged to expand throughout that region. Let's shift to why the science behind our product and future R&D are so critical. Science is no longer a competitive advantage, but it has become a table stake if you want to be a credible player in this space. I'm glad the company listened to me and others on our advisory board to begin investing in this a year or so ago. The initial findings from a leading lab with years of tobacco research are very interesting and demonstrate we are on the right track. We will continue to invest in this type of work to have credibility and respect with all stakeholders. Science, as Joel mentioned, will also aid our R&D efforts. Switching the 30 million adult smokers in the U.S. to other products is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Our R&D priorities are to find other disruptive ingredients combined with the right delivery system so that the adult tobacco users find them compelling. And if others beat us to it, we will look to acquire them. I'm excited to share these developments as they become closer to realization, but not before for competitive reasons. I hope this gives you a better sense of who I am, why I'm here, and how excited I am to be a part of TAAT's future. I'd like to remind you that with the exception of heat not burn, nearly all the innovations in this space have started at smaller companies or entrepreneurs just like TAAT and our founder, Joe. I believe our creative nimbleness allows us to move faster and discover new ways to help the tobacco user. Going forward, you might hear from us a little less frequently, but that's because we're focused on delivering results that drive shareholder return. We look forward to providing you quarterly updates on our progress and when other major milestones have been accomplished. With that, I'll turn it back over to our moderator to lead our Q&A session.
Thank you. If there is insufficient time to respond to all questions, TAAT Global's Investor Relations team can be reached by email at investor@taatglobal.com. I'd now like to introduce the Q&A moderator, Janita. The floor is yours.
Thank you, operator. We have a number of questions to get through. I will start with Mr. Saxon. So, Mr. Saxon, how does the acquisition of ADCO fit into TAAT's vision?
I think Joel summarized it really nicely in his opening remarks. I'd summarize it very succinctly. It allows us to be closer to the end consumer, and we are able to react faster in making changes and adaptations in both our product and our commercial approach by having this footprint here in the Northeast of Ohio.
Second question for you, Mr. Saxon. how many stores do you expect TAAT to be selling in by year end and beyond?
As I mentioned in my remarks, our teams are now focused on 2 markets here in the U.S., both the Las Vegas market and the Northeast Ohio market. And while those plans are being finalized, I look forward to reporting back on how many stores we're in distribution in those 2 markets in the quarter ahead.
Thank you. Next question is for Mr. Dumaresque. What revenue can we expect for the company over the next year?
Janine, just could you repeat that one more time?
Sure. What revenue can we expect for the company over the next year?
Okay, we've given guidance that in a press release here recently that our expectation for the next 12 months is somewhere in the neighborhood of around $92 million Canadian. That's a combination of TAAT's branded product as well as the ADCO revenues. And maybe what I can throw on that, just to put out one caveat on that, is that although I'm highly comfortable with that guidance and where we're headed with that, that could be impacted by additional acquisitions and so on. As I mentioned in my presentation, we're presently looking at a number of different opportunities which could significantly impact those numbers to the positive side, but I'm not really at liberty to get into a whole lot of detail on that. The other thing I can mention on that is that the way we have structured our senior management compensation contracts, and in particular Michael's, and don't worry, Michael, I'm not going to get into the specifics of your contract today, but what we've done is we've really motivated everybody very, very significantly with equity as compared to cash compensation or other forms of compensation. So we are all working for major equity incentives, and so we're very, very incentivized through those contracts to drive sales and ultimately to drive proper profitability down the line.
Okay. And another question for you, Mr. Dumaresque, is TAAT considering an uplist to another major exchange?
Yeah, I think it's been a while since we've commented on that. At the time that we made applications, so we made applications to 2 different exchanges. We made application to the NASDAQ exchange in the U.S., and we made application to the big board, the TSX, as I refer to it. I think it's formerly the TMX here in Canada. And with the NASDAQ, with the share price where it is right now, it's close to qualifying us, and we've been through the majority of the qualification criteria. And that's why we're hoping to reestablish a higher share price so that we can resume that application or get back into that get over the qualifying bar. So we're very much still motivated by that and still believe that's well within our grasp here in the foreseeable future. And in the meantime, we actually believe that we do qualify presently with our stock price where it is for the TSX, which gives us some tremendous opportunities as well in terms of exposing the company to a broader institutional audience, which I think is an area that we've been somewhat remiss at over the past 6 or 8 months. I think that the real focus of a lot of our communication efforts and investor relations and public relations are going to begin to pivot more extensively towards the institutional audience. And I think that the listing on the TSX and ultimately when we achieve the NASDAQ listing will support that. So both listings, once again, very much in our gun sights, and we'll continue to pursue until we get there. And we believe that we are in a position to get both listings in a reasonable period of time.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I know that was a very popular question. Next question is for Mr. Saxon. If we are going beyond TAAT, as a result of acquiring ADCO. What else is the company getting into? Mr. Saxon?
I might have scared him with that question.
You may have.
No, the famous, I was on mute these days. No, thanks, Janita, and that's a great question. I'll talk about it from an ADCO perspective, but also a TAAT perspective. In addition to ADCO providing us the closer to the customer aspects where we get that feedback on our own products, the also beauty with ADCO is we get to see what other products are moving through the system, which gives us an early intelligence into what other products we might want to have our eye on. But I think it also starts off with first coming back to TAAT. And for us as a company, one, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think the current TAAT product offering was excellent at helping migrate smokers from their current products to TAAT. But what's critical with TAAT itself is us build scale through a product that we think can have mass appeal to adult smokers. Once we have that infrastructure in place, there are more products we can run through that infrastructure. And like I mentioned in my remarks, our R&D teams are focused on finding those products through our own organic developments. But if we found that someone else has gotten there a little faster than we did or discovered a novel approach that we didn't have within our R&D processes, we'll look to acquire those. So, I subscribe to having all options on the table, and whichever option allows us to get there faster, we will deploy. So ADCO plays an important role in that, but also taking our core product offering today and building that national scale will be critical to what other products we fit into that pipeline going forward.
Okay, and I guess an extension of that question for Mr. Dumaresque, I'm not sure this may have already been addressed, but are there plans to continue to grow the company through future acquisitions?
Yes, Janita. As I said in responding to the sales question, we are actively looking and engaged in discussions on acquiring additional distribution. That's a key piece of it. And again, we're not looking to become a distribution company. We are looking to continue to build on our presence as a company introducing non-traditional brands. So effectively a brand company along the lines of a Coca-Cola or a Red Bull or somebody like that. That's where we're headed. But we do believe that we need additional scale on the distribution to really be able to achieve a lot of the things that Michael just spoke about and get that type of data and have that type of access. So we will continue to look at very opportunistic situations where we can grow that distribution. But at the same time, again, as Michael indicated, we're looking at some really exciting products and product opportunities, again, in this non-traditional space. And what we're starting to find is because the TAAT brand is getting such good recognition right now, that we're getting products that are getting introduced to us, whether it be like by our partners at ADCO or whether it's coming from other sources. We are seeing some really interesting things. I mentioned, one of the products that we've been looking at, Kratom, but there's a whole host of other stuff that is equally intriguing or more intriguing that we're currently looking at. So, yes, we will be looking at doing acquisitions, both to build our distribution, but also to build on our product offerings, and those go hand in hand with our strategy of how we intend to build the company.
Excellent. That sounds very exciting. Thank you. Next question is for Mr. Saxon. Can you give us an update on the patent application status for the company?
Wow, 3 weeks in and I'm already getting the patent questions. Luckily, I talked to our patent team earlier this morning. So here's a quick update. The U.S. Patent Office has deemed our application to have multiple inventions, and they're right now requesting a little more information to complete the application process. But our patent attorney's goal is that we should receive a full review and hopefully receive at least 2 patents before the end of the year.
Yeah, maybe I can just add to that on Michael's behalf, seeing he's been there, only been here for a few weeks. To give you an idea of how focused we are and how committed we are to the patent situation, we have our own internal patent attorney that works for the company. So that's how committed we are and how focused we are on moving our patents along. So we're highly confident that we're going to have some very, very strong IP. Our patent attorney works very, very closely with Dr. Cindy Orser, who's working on product development, just to determine all the ways in which we can protect ourselves and protect our product. And the best thing we can do at the end of the day really is to continue to improve upon the product and just keep the tremendous advantage we have with our product. You just have to go on and look at the reviews, and you'll see that nobody out there has a non-tobacco product, particularly a hemp-based product, that even comes close in terms of reviews. So that's the best thing that we can do, but that doesn't mean that we're slowing down in any way to continue to build on our IP. And we consider the IP to be a significant portion of the value of our company, and so we'll continue to work on the IP. One other thing I'll just throw out there, because it may be a question. If it's a question, I'm preempting it. Excuse me, but the other thing that we continue to work on is the whole healthier element to the product. And I can't say our product is healthier than a cigarette because the data hasn't been fully collected yet, but we're working on that very, very aggressively and putting a lot of time and attention into things like emissions reviews and that type of work to hopefully one day put us in a position where we can make much bolder statements about our product and the respective healthiness, quote, of the product vis-a-vis traditional smoking products like tobacco.
Perfect.
Yeah, and Janita, before you move forward, I'll just add on. I think it's why investing in the scientific elements, both from a stakeholder credibility, but also from an R&D point of view, is when you have IP that clearly protects us for a much longer period of time, but it also is important with external stakeholders in this broader harm reduction conversation.
Great. Thank you both. We've got a couple more questions left. Mr. Dumar asks, will there be a future fundraise?
Oh, good question. And the simple answer and the direct answer and the honest answer is we have no plans to do a fundraise at the present time. And we're fortunate that we have a strong balance sheet. We're fortunate that we're generating revenue, and of course, ADCO's assisted with that acquisition. We're also really fortunate, Janita, in the sense that we have a key strategic shareholder who, in the past, as we've acquired capital, has stepped up to the plate and helped us. So if something came across the bow.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off there. You've just cut out. Would you mind possibly repeating that? Just the portion about the significant shareholder.
Yeah, so I was saying that, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Or are we good now? So I was saying that we have a very, significant key shareholder that I think people have read about in Southeast Asia, who has been working very, very closely with us and who has intimated that in the event that we need help in some form or fashion, likely would be prepared to help us out. And so if a let's think along the lines of a acquisition or strategic opportunity came along that required, a more significant amount of capital, we have that route that we could certainly go, and that shareholder is very conscious of dilution. So it would be structured in the least dilutive way possible. But at this stage, we don't have anything specific. We are good with our own internal resources at this point in time. And although I'll never say never, we have no plans to raise capital at this point in time, or no need to raise capital at this point in time.
Okay. And last question is for Mr. Saxon. Can you give us an update on the international expansion plan, specifically in Europe and Canada?
Yes, thanks, Janita. I think similarly on why I was so excited about TAAT is global opportunities. This was primarily a U.S. play. I don't really think I'd be here today, and it's also part of that broader harm reduction conversation that Joel mentioned. This is not a conversation that's just happening here in the U.S. And as I said earlier, it's also why the UK market is so important. They've long been a leader in this conversation, along with other countries around the world. I think we still have some restrictions based on the current product offering we have today as it regards to Canada. But that's also one of the other reasons we're looking at additional products to incorporate into the portfolio. And that's both in terms of what we want to develop internally, but also look to acquire. Because today our product has some limitations internationally in certain parts of the world, and why our teams are actively looking at that. So I think there's a lot more to come. I think it's important that one, we not only demonstrate success in our home market here in the U.S., but I do think some of the early signs we're seeing in the UK are absolutely promising for us to build on, and can really provide that launch pad for both Europe and other parts of the world.
Perfect. Thank you very much. This is all the time that we have for questions today. Thank you both so much for your insight. I would like to hand the call back to Michael Saxon for closing remarks.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. I am truly excited to be part of the TAAT team, and I believe our future is bright. We commit ourselves to providing you updates on a regular basis, but I'm really more excited about talking about our accomplishments in the quarter ahead. There's many bright stories we have to tell, and I look forward to telling them to you in the near future. With that, good evening, and stay tuned for more exciting developments in the coming quarters. Joel, anything else to add?
I think you summed it up beautifully, Michael, and it's great to be working with you, and I couldn't be more excited about all the different elements that I've already witnessed you bringing to the company, and I really believe we are firmly on the right track, and that our shareholders are going to start to see that demonstrated over the next couple of quarters. The only other thing I thought of as we're speaking here and we're wrapping up is just going back to the harm reduction, because I think that's a really key component in terms of evaluation of a company such as ours. Right now, we're a consumer product, but I really believe that is part of the future direction of the company, and that's something that we're going to continue to invest in the whole life science element of this business, which, similar to a pharmaceutical company, is what, really drives value. If we can demonstrate ultimately that there are additional advantages to our product above and beyond being cheaper than the competition and being free of addictive nicotine. So really excited about what we may be able to demonstrate and some of the changes and news cycle developments that may be coming in that direction as well. So thank you to everyone for participating and, staying tuned for more, as you say, Michael.
This concludes today's event. You may disconnect your lines. Thank you once again for participating.